Hey, super friends. Today I am excited to talk to Michael Schwartz. You might know him as a screenwriter with credits like R.L. Stine's Zombie Town or Gnome Alone, but he also did VFX work, which is pretty cool. And now has his comic debut from our friends at Clover Press, Armored. Think of it like Sword and the Stone meets Stranger Things with beautiful watercolored art. And I am so excited. We did feature Armored as one of our The Brave and the Book Club episodes, which was a lot of fun. So I'm so excited to talk to you. Michael, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me here, Jake. I really appreciate you having me on. You've featured Armored a lot. Like you also called it one of your favorite indie books, I think, of 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. It was on my list. Honestly, I just love what
Love.
everyone at Clover is doing. They're one of the few publishers that have reached out to me directly. And Hank there, our friend Hank is just such a cool dude. So he was nice enough to send me a copy of Armored, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I suggest if anyone who does reviews or interviews at all, reach out to Hank at Clover Press. They just want to get their books out there more as much as possible. The quality they put out is undeniable. Like I
Yeah.
here's all my Clover books right here. Like I have my own Clover section at my
I
house.
see I see a few of those I have. Their their
Yeah.
their Marvel art of books are incredible,
Oof.
like they're
Yeah.
oversized, beautiful, and I feel like they just create exactly the kind of books like they're just fans that are creating their dream projects.
Oh
You
my
know what I
gosh,
mean?
I
And
know.
like they just create everything with such love and care.
Yeah, I think I do think because I've started working with them a bit on some of their Marvel art of and DC art of books. I
Mm,
do a bit of background work
okay.
on some of them. I've worked on some of the art books. Like I did a bit of work on the Kirkham book,
Nice, okay.
um, and I've worked on a ton that I can't speak about. Yeah.
Yes, yes, some that we can't say on air. I do wanna shout out when the Tyler Kirkham book comes out, our sponsor, Panaval Comics, will have a exclusive variant cover that I gotta help pick out, that's the closest I've ever come to book design, is I gotta help me and my boss helped pick out a cover for our exclusive version of that,
Oh,
and
and it's a
I
good one.
it's gonna
That
be
book is
awesome.
awesome. Um,
I'm excited for the DC ones though, because I like Marvel, but I live for DC. If you look at the back of my shelves, it's like 80% DC comparatively to Marvel. And those I'm gonna be salivating over those DC art of books.
I was working on one yesterday actually. I prepped the art to deliver
Mhm.
to the company to approve basically.
Oh,
So that's
nice.
my job. I'm like front line. I'm right there at the beginning. And I don't even think the artists know. They probably have no clue. But I'm just a fan, right? Like
Yeah.
and
Well,
I can tell.
everyone at Clover's a fan.
Yeah, I can just tell they are too because the way they talk about it is just like the excitement is there, right? Everything they release, they're a fan of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now I gotta ask you. Imagine they came to you and said, you can have a Marvel or DC or indie art of, whichever publisher art of book, and you could create it and sky's the limit. Who would you pick?
Okay, I would pick Mike Mignola. I've
Oh,
I think I've already mentioned it to them, but I forget what they said. But yeah, that would be top of my list. I don't know, he did a lot of Marvel work, but I don't know if there's enough for a book.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Or my runner up, Sam Keith, for me.
Mm,
Sam Keith was everything to me in the 90s when the Max came out. Like I love Sam Keith. So those two.
that's awesome. So one question I wanted to ask as like an icebreaker, you obviously know our friends at the Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast, and they
Yes,
recently
yes.
had Brad Meltzer on, and he had that great quote, which was, "Tell me about the comics you loved when you were 13, and that tells me all I need to know about you." So, what were your 13-year-old comics?
I just listened to that episode this morning.
Oh,
That's so
really?
funny you bring it up. Yeah. Okay, 13-year-old, like it's weird because if you go 8-year-old and 13-year-old, it's very different, but
Okay.
still that 8-year-old Mike is not gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's will always be there, which was Spider-Man, Hulk, Silver Surfer, X-Men. But by 13, I was definitely Spawn. Hellboy was coming out a few years later. The Darkness. I was
Mm.
really into the horror comics at the time, while
Wait,
still
wait. What genre was your comic? That your debut comic? Horror. So
horror. Yeah,
what
yeah,
tells me everything I need to know about you?
exactly. There you go. Yeah, you nailed it. So horror. But I was still getting like stuff like Spider-Man at the same
Yeah.
time. But I was really into like I would go. My parents would rent a cottage every summer, and I would bring a stack of Spawn books with me, and I'd reread from one to whatever they were at. So if
Yeah.
they were at issue 36, I'd bring 1 through 36. Then the next year it'd be 1 through 48. So I was quite obsessed. Yeah.
That's awesome. So my channel focuses more primarily on collected editions.
Yeah.
I'm the marketing manager of a website called Panelbound Comic. We added armor to our website, so we sell
Thank
that.
you.
Talk to me about your reading. Are you more single issues collect? I see beautiful collected behind you. Which format do you prefer to read in?
I have to admit, I'm a single issues guy, and
That's
and the
okay.
that is the reason why Armored started out as single issues.
Okay.
Clover primarily does hardcovers. They do these beautiful original graphic novels or collected editions or art books, and they really wanted Armored to start that way. But I wanted the book to be on in comic shops as single issues first because that's how I collect. Like I have a
Yeah.
pull list. I haven't stopped having a pull list except for a few months after I had my collection stolen, which I
I
can
heard about that.
yes.
That's crazy.
um I just the way I wrote it, I don't know if you recognize that, but each chapter I wrote like this is a single issue. I want there to be enough story. I want it to end where people are wanting to pick up the next one. It's how I take in comics, and that's how I wanted to put it out there. Now I've gotten it out of my system.
Yeah.
So my next book will definitely be an OGN.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started when I was younger. I didn't have like a lot of people that were into comics. I didn't know where a comic book shop was, or for me, a
Yeah.
comic would be if my mom let me buy a trade from a Barnes and Noble or something, or I think Borders still existed for us. Those were our bookstores. And then as I got older and got adult money, I was like, as soon as like for me, it was like maybe 2016, I got really into being like a weekly warrior with single issues, and I loved them. And then I guess like I think what happens is like there's pros and cons to both, right?
Yeah.
Like with a single issue, like sometimes, especially like for I guess for like older comics, a single issue takes you so long to get through, you know what I mean? But sometimes with a modern comic, I feel like you can finish it in a few minutes and then you have to wait weeks for the next one. And then you're like, do you reread it? Do you hope you remember? You know what I mean?
I know.
Um, but then I think because my channel is collected editions and it's my job, I went too far deep in the other direction, and now I'm trying to find a balance because without singles, we're not going to get these oversized collected editions,
Yeah,
So
and I think that's something I recognized at some point, especially in the late 2000s. I was finding myself picking up a lot of trades, and then I was like, wait, these trades wouldn't exist
yeah.
if I didn't get these singles. And so I really made an effort, and then I just couldn't stop myself. It's just an addiction.
So you mentioned your comic collection was stolen, and then there was
Mhm.
a period of time before you started your pull up of again. Was there a period where you thought you were just out of comics or you were done physically?
Yeah, so basically someone broke into our garage. We had bought in a house a couple of years prior, but I hadn't moved my entire collection to my new house. Most of it was in storage at my mother's house, and we were living in a condo, so we couldn't have all my comics there. But I finally was like, okay, I'm going to bring everything here. I needed to clean up basically the room I'm in now is like an office, a place for guests to sleep, and then I have like a room where I can store all the comics. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna clean it out. I'll store all the comics in the garage. And we had just had a baby a few months
Mm,
prior, and you have sleepless nights. Someone
yeah.
broke in, went in, stole all of my comics, whatever movie posters I had in there. I've collected movie posters since I was a kid, so I had probably half the collection in there. My wife's American Girl dolls from when she was a
Oh,
kid, family heirlooms, even our winter clothes I had stolen. Like
oh my
really weird
gosh.
stuff. They just went in there and just took it all. Action figures, I had tons of He-Man action figures stolen. Just gone. And I remember saying to my wife, I am never collecting a comic again. I can't even look at them. It was too
Oh, I
upsetting,
mean,
right? Like
when
I had
it's too
been
soon, it's too heartbreaking.
Well, not just that, like these are comics. My dad is a huge collector, and like my dad had been buying me them since I was 3, maybe even earlier. I don't know. And so it was just like devastating. Um, but a few months after that, I know there was a pawn shop up the street from me that every comic was 50 cents unless it was Silver Age. And I was like, well, maybe I should start digging in those bins. And I was finding comics that I had stolen, like, I'm not saying they were the ones that were stolen.
Oh
I,
yeah, yeah,
I was finding like, just Jim Lee's run on X-Men, 50
yeah,
cents each. So I was just buying them all. And then I'd go to my local comic shop and they had dollar bins where you could buy like 30 comics for $10. And I was like, great, I'll just buy 30 comics. And I was slowly replacing it. And then I hit a point where I was like, oh, I never read, I never got to read the New 52 Cyborg. So I would just buy the
mm,
full run. It just became a bad habit. I have so many long boxes.
yeah,
Um, but because of that, and I started up my pull list again. Um, it kind of led to me writing Armored. It,
yeah,
it really did. It hit a point where I was like, I read way more comics every night than I watch movies, and I'm a screenwriter.
yeah,
But I've written so many movies that didn't get made, and I was like, I've always wanted to make a comic. I've always felt intimidated by it because I'm not an artist.
yeah.
Or maybe I should just do it. Maybe I should figure it out, and that's how Armored happened.
That's incredible. So before we touch on Armored, I want to ask you:
Mhm.
does your dad still collect comics?
Yeah, now he's primarily focused on just Silver Age and Golden Age
Okay.
books. He doesn't do any new books except for Armored.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say. So my lead in was, what was it like for him? What did he say? How proud was he that he got you into comic collecting as a child, and then someday he got to add your comic to his collection?
I don't know. I should ask him. I
Hey,
do
send him the
wonder.
link. Bring him on. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. I should ask him like what he thinks of it because
Yeah,
I don't know if we've ever talked about it. I know he likes it and he loves
yeah.
it and he purchases original art from the artist. He has like probably 7 copies of the hardcover that he hands out to people and people issue one. I think he ordered like a ton of extras of everything. It was just like, here, read my son's book.
Wait,
He's definitely
did he
proud of it.
did he have you sign his copy though?
He's had me sign copies. I don't
That's
know.
awesome.
He probably has signed copies that he's bought from the Kickstarter.
So he's not having you sign things that he's selling them on the side to buy
No,
more Silver Age books, right?
no, that would be good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he will do that. Once you know the book could end up taking. The book does well for an indie, but it hasn't like taken off. Like if there was a movie announced or a TV show announced, then he could probably sell off some copies. On eBay.
yeah. But I'm sure he'd rather hold. They mean a lot to him.
Yes.
So you mentioned you're a screenwriter. Talk to me about the differences between screenwriting a movie versus screenwriting a comic. Was there any strengths that you felt from your screenwriting side, and was there any like weaknesses you had to unlearn?
Yeah, like the strength is that, I've written so many movies or co-written so many movies and I just know 3-act structure very well. And I know what I like. I sometimes find it hard reading a comic because I get frustrated if the writer is not getting to the point where I'm like,
Mm,
what is the character's motivation? What is their goal? I can get really upset by it. And so the benefit was I knew I had a finite amount of money, so I knew I had to tell a story with an end, even though I wanted it to be an ongoing series. So I needed it to wrap up in 5 issues, and I knew how to do that. But I also needed to study. I spent a lot of time studying my favorite first issues, my favorite series, and breaking them down. I spent months like using an Excel doc to understand the structure of my favorite comics. I pulled out like every issue number 1 by Geoff Johns
oh,
and was
nice.
just like, I need to understand how he's formatting his story. I still knew I would write my story the same way, but I wanted this to be written for comic fans. I didn't want it
Yeah,
to just be like, oh, this is my goal is to make this into a movie. My goal was never that. My goal is to break into comics, and it's not
yeah,
easy. I'm discovering. So but the difference is that with a movie, I'll sometimes work with a director. I don't have to worry about what the room looks like. I can just say it's a kid's bedroom. You figure it out, director. But when it
Yeah.
comes to comics, I have to tell the artist what is the frame. Is it wide? Is it long? Are there 4 frames a page or panels? Is there 3 panels a page? Is it medium? Is it far? Like, you're the director. And that was really hard to wrap my brain around when I was writing issue 1. I got used to it by issue 2, but man, that first issue, I was like, this is draining me. Because
Yeah.
normally I'm just like, walks into room, either action or discussion, nothing
Yeah.
else. And this time it was like, oh, is it a sunset? Oh yeah, I guess it's a sunset. Okay, these kids are at nighttime, so yeah.
So my question then would be, how do you balance not doing the Marvel method with your scripting, but
Mhm.
also allowing your artist to have freedom? And for those of you that don't know, the Marvel method being like character walks into room and that's all you give them, and then they do all of the blocking themselves. So how did you? And was there what was I guess was there a specific panel or page where the artist Ishmael Hernandez most surprised you based from what you had on the script? It was something that surprised you.
Um, he's really started to surprise me later in the series. I think in the beginning I was too precious. Like,
Mm.
I studied, I looked at Geoff Johns' scripts in the back of some of his collected editions, or Tom King's scripts, and they're very
Oh, love
similar. And I
Tom
like
King.
those two the best, like how they formatted their scripts, and I saw how much detail they were putting in. I tried to leave it open as much as possible. Like, I would send him reference photography, or
Okay.
not necessarily photography, or just like when it came to the suit of armor, I was pretty like set on, like, I want it to feel like a kid is getting medieval Spawn armor. I you
Nice.
know I've been to so many castles as a kid in Europe. I want it to look like this kind of castle. It has to be this crumbled. Like, this is a castle that they're not really studying. There's no tours at it. It's just out there in the woods. Because I've been to castles like that. I've been to castles where you have to pay a ticket to get in, and I've been to
Mhm.
castles where it's like, oh, that's just the local castle, and the kids kind of play at it.
Yeah.
And so, uh, but what's great about Ishmael Hernandez is he lives in Spain, so he
Mm.
lives in Europe. He's
Yeah, so
seen
he's
these
seen a
sites.
castle or 2.
Yeah, and he brings a kind of a Spanish flair to it,
Mhm.
as well, especially in the armor. Um, but like, I am noticing, like, he has way better ideas for how the panel layout works
Yeah.
than I would. Like, he knows what will work better than I can. And even in issue 6 that was released in December, um, there's like there's a reveal that happens, and the way he did the reveal is so much better than the way I wrote it. Like, it's just the layout of it is just so smooth and just like shocking a bit. So yeah, I think I'll never go as far as the Marvel method unless he told me to. Unless he's like, no, you gotta. I want to just come up with the panel page layouts. That's fine, but I think the artists I've met, I know they don't want to have to think too much, because that's
Yeah.
extra work on their part. Like, that's a lot of work, and already doing that artwork is way more work than me having to write it.
So one thing that I like to do is I like to pull a couple panels from your book and see if there's any like behind the scenes or hidden context or just geek about the story. So I do
Yeah.
have a couple panels and I try to make them be interesting, but also not too spoilers. I want to say, so we should say that Armored is pretty all ages, but it tackles with themes of
Mhm.
grief and loss. Like I think you went way harder than I expected when I heard it was more of an all ages story. But opening off with this early panel,
Yeah.
we see this new character Miles that we start the book with isn't going to be around much longer.
Hmm.
Um, and this is an intense way to start your book.
Yeah. That I wanted to start with a bang. I wanted to say, hey, this is a book that's going to be dealing with death. But I also didn't want to sugarcoat it, right? I
Yeah.
knew I I knew this was I was aiming to make something that was a bit like Stranger Things. Like, off the
Mhm.
bat, um, I'll admit it. I'm not. I like Stranger Things. I don't love it. I'm very frustrated by the show. This was probably written out of frustration in some ways with how they write their show. I like it though. There's so much I like about Stranger Things, and what I like about that show is a lot of adults watch it, right? I
Yeah.
feel like I know tons of adults watch it. But now I talk to my son and he's like, "All my friends are watching Stranger Things. I want to watch it." And he's 7.
Oh,
Kids
okay.
like to watch what's above their level,
Yeah.
right?
What feels cool or what
Yeah.
maybe feels like
Well,
I'm not supposed to be watching this, but my parents are letting me, you know?
exactly. And I remember writing an animated movie with the director I work with, Peter Lepaniotis, and at the time his son was like maybe 11 or 12. And he said, and I said, "Why don't we ask your son if he'd like this scene we're writing in this animated movie?" And he goes, "He's not going to care. He's like, he wants to watch Stranger Things." And when he said that, I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that hit me right." Where I'm like, "You're right. Kids are watching. They want to watch what's cool, what they're not supposed to be watching." And I
Yeah.
wanted Armored to kind of feel like that. I wanted adults to enjoy it, but a kid that could handle a death within the first 5 pages would also enjoy it and think it's cool. So that
Yeah.
was my goal really early on in deciding that.
I feel like Stranger Things, obviously, like it's that Quentin Tarantino method of like really, I don't want to call them blatant ripoffs of things that came before, but homages or
Yeah,
things like
homages.
that. So,
Yeah.
which is fun because I can be like, oh, they're doing the scene from The Thing, or they're doing this, like this season 4 is like a Nightmare on Elm Street and
Yeah,
things
and
like
I
that. You
love
know?
that. I like the
Yeah.
homages. That's my favorite part of Stranger Things. And I will say I did not I didn't pull away from that. So
Yeah.
even that the we'll call him the ash monster, the first references I sent Ishmael were from Poltergeist. I was like, "Here,
Mm.
check." And if you look in the book, you'll see one of the first. It's a very small like thumbnail of the ash monster in the book at the back, and it resembles I don't know if you've seen Poltergeist, but there's
Oh, I
the
have. Yeah.
ghost that I think she's like starting the bath, and there's this ghost with these long limbs, and that's what I
Mm.
sent him, and I said, use this as kind of a starting point, and that's what he did, and then he kind of morphed it into his own thing.
Were there any other movies besides Poltergeist? I'm guessing TV shows and movies from the 80s, horror and things like that, that were a direct through line of the DNA of Armored?
I definitely American Werewolf in London. You know, when
Mm.
even that line, the meatloaf line, that's just ripped from American Werewolf in London. That was just my nod. You know, he's always seeing his friend Jack, who's a ghost essentially, who's rotting, and I was thinking, oh, that's basically what this ghost is. So it's a nod to that. There's a whole bunch, and it doesn't end here. The next arc I'm working on, I
Yeah,
there's
you said Ghostbusters cartoon, right?
Oh yeah, even Ghostbusters, right? Like I grew up watching the real Ghostbusters, and I got to work with Dan Aykroyd, and I
Yeah,
remember after working with him, and I had the first issue complete. I reached out to his assistant saying, "Hey, would Dan be interested in reading my book?" And he was, thankfully. And I told him like his movie had such a huge impact on me that I would love for him to read it. And
you
you
got
know,
some a lot of cool people for blurbs. So you had, R.L. Stine write a
yeah.
blurb, Dan Aykroyd. What was it like? I mean, R.L. Stine, I feel like is the pioneer of like modern all ages horror, I think. Like I remember growing up with like Goosebumps being huge and things like that. So, what was it like, getting these people that pioneered that, reading Armored?
Oh my God, it's kind of surreal. It doesn't feel real. Like I'm like, did that happen? Like I got to work with Dan Aykroyd for 4 days, and that was surreal. I'm still not like, was that a dream?
That's
um,
awesome.
I got to meet R.L. Stine, um, and all that. It's weird. You feel kind of like, um, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. So
It is
yeah,
surreal. One thing that I like, I guess, is my wife she's not crazy into comics. She loves horror movies, and we like very different horror movies. So for me, she thinks I like pretentious hipster horror, and I think she likes blockbuster supernaturals. You know what
okay,
I mean?
yeah.
But like we that's one of the areas we connect. And whenever I bring her a comic, I have to like I don't get very many chances because if I give her something she's not gonna like, it's like I like wasted my golden ticket. So I'm like, whenever there's a horror comic that I especially love, I'm like, okay, this is one that I think you're gonna enjoy. And after I finished Armored, I was like, she loves Stranger Things, she loves The Conjuring, she loves all of that supernatural stuff. And I was like, you're gonna love Armored, and she loved it. So that's
Oh,
like,
great. Okay.
and she's not a comic book reader, so it worked for
Wow.
people that aren't. into comics, which is crazy. So for her, she likes like Stranger Things, Witches, Dark Ride, and Armored. So it's on her list of like
Oh, that's
5
awesome.
comics that she's read. So
Okay, I
that
know.
was,
I remember you
yeah.
posting about that on social media, and I was like, "Oh, I'm curious to know if she liked it." So that's
Yeah,
great to
it's
hear.
she it's weird because like she does like it when it's kids that are involved with supernatural stuff, but it has to be like not too far because she works with children at school and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
she's like, so she's sensitive to things, but definitely like it was one that I read and then I pushed on my friends and my wife, and like it's a risk. Like I knew she was gonna like it, and that's why I'm glad she read it and she enjoyed it, because there's not a lot of comics that I think she would enjoy, but Armored was like written for her specifically.
that's
So
amazing. Okay.
that was really fun. The next panel I have is this one right here. So
Yeah.
I feel like this one gave me like, I mean, I feel like it was like the transformation scenes when people puts on like the Power Rangers armor or things like that. You know what I mean? And just drawn beautifully. So is talk to me about this page.
So I actually did a post on Instagram about this page specifically, like maybe a year or two ago. You're familiar with it, ROM, right?
Yeah, yeah.
One of the annuals has ROM on the cover, and all of his like armored plates
Mm,
are coming off, and they're floating around him. I literally just sent that cover to Ishmael, and I said, "This is what the armor looks like." But the truth is, it really is like a it's like Iron Man, right? Like
yeah.
it's just that. Like it's coming out of something. I didn't want him to have to carry around a suit of armor. It had to come from somewhere. It had to be mystical, magical. Um, an armored suit is so cumbersome. And
Yeah.
I was like, I need a way for a kid to have an armored suit, but not have to like shove it in his backpack, because that would be so unrealistic.
I definitely like a strong Blue Beetle vibe from this also.
Yeah, and that's actually what Geoff Johns said.
Yep. How
Uh,
how did
when
that feel getting Geoff Johns reviewing Armored?
I probably wouldn't even be a writer if it weren't for Geoff Johns. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was, but I was in film school and I was trying to write my own films, and I didn't have the confidence because everyone was making these artsy films in film school. And I was reading The Flash at the time, his run on The Flash, and I think Identity Crisis was coming out, Infinite Crisis, all that. It was
Mhm.
that era. And there was something I realized where I was like, this is just really fun, and it tells a great story with a lot of emotion. And that was kind of my attitude. I'm not going to be artsy anymore. I'm just going to write something that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And but that has a story, right? But
Mhm.
I was less concerned about the artistry, and I became more into the story aspect. Because when you go to film school, I think a lot of people want to be like, I don't even want to say Quentin Tarantino, but like David Lynch, right? They
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
weird and yeah, and so I just went the other way, and his writing just inspired me. I was obsessed with Geoff Johns, so to have him read Armored was incredible, and he's
Yeah.
been so supportive. Like just every time I see him, he's just the nicest, warmest person. Yeah, I can't
He
say.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I could go on
awesome.
and on.
He's my white whale, and I'm connected with the people at Ghost Machine, so I do some interviews for the people at Ghost Machine,
Yeah,
and their press rep Danny, she's awesome. She's like Geoff Johns follows me on Instagram, and that was like I geeked out for that. Like
same.
and I emailed her and she was like, yeah, Geoff knows who you are. Like someday, maybe this year, you'll do an interview. So Geoff Johns is awesome. I feel like the way that he writes characters as their most like quintessential versions of themselves, but
Yes,
still being new reader friendly. So he's able to like revise things to what feels like how their canon always has been, and it's so accessible, like what
totally.
the architecture he's done is crazy.
And the characters are just so clear, like they exist, and how he lays out a story. Like every issue feels like you're getting your money's worth. Like when I get
Yeah.
a new issue of Geiger, I'm just like I feel fulfilled. I hate having to
Yeah.
wait, but I'm like, oh, that was great.
And
Now,
and the
yeah,
yeah, the collected editions, the oversized deluxes that they do are like the best value in comics.
I just got the Junkyard Joe one.
Oh, have you read it yet?
I've read it single
Oh, okay.
issues.
Yeah,
I've read
because you do
everything
singles.
single,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I just I'm now I'm becoming you, Jake. I'm getting the collected editions now. I can't stop.
Hey, have you read Rook? Rook, I think, was my
Rook.
favorite, dude.
Oh,
Rook was
really?
Yeah, Rook was
Rook
well, I
is
feel like I have the worst recency bias in the world. So whatever new Ghost Machine book I read is my new favorite.
that's hilarious. I love Rook, but Redcoat is my favorite.
I mean, there's
That
probably a
is
reason Redcoat's getting being the first to get a movie, dude. What I love about Redcoat is sorry, we'll go back to you Armored. I know we're supposed to
no, it's
promote
okay.
your I just
I
love talking about comics. What I love about Redcoat is it has that Sandman vibe of like this character is immortal, so you can tell different like timelines of stories, you know? And I
yeah
love that the character is like kind of a piece of shit, but he's getting a little better each day and he has all the time in the world to become a good person.
yeah
With Rook, he became a good person throughout the first deluxe. You know, he
yeah
transformed as a character. I don't know where that character goes next on his internal journey, but with Redcoat, he has a long way to go to be a hero, you know.
yeah. And I love the mystery he leaves. Like you still like don't know what's happening. You don't know everything about Rook. You don't know everything about Redcoat. Even Geiger feels like there's mysteries in this world you want to know more about. He's so good at that. I mean, don't apologize because like for like a year I was jumping on the Ghost Machine fans podcast.
Nice.
If you're a fan of Ghost Machines, anyone watching, you got to listen to the podcast too. I was doing the Redcoat episodes with the co-hosts because
Oh,
I
that's
was just so
awesome.
into it, and they knew I was talking to them every day. They're like, "You just need to come on the show."
That's awesome. So I guess okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Since you have a love for film, you went to film school. I feel like the classic cliche question everyone asks is like, what is your letterbox top 4? But what would be your letterbox top 4 for comics instead of films?
Oh, why are you doing that? That is hard. Oh my god.
And you could think about it and it's okay. But I feel like that's fun. I
Well,
wanna know what you
I definitely have to keep Watchmen up there. I feel like I've read
yeah.
it the most. Um, yeah, I've definitely read it the most. Oh, this might be too hard. That's too many.
Okay,
Uh,
give me 2. Give me 2 that would be like your most precious that you've read.
well, I'm just gonna go back to Geoff Johns to be completely honest. Like his rebirth of Green Lantern, his Hawkman series. I've gone back to so many times.
I Hawkman I haven't read because the omnibus was out of print for so long and then it got reprinted this year, so I'm excited to read that one.
Yeah.
But that was out of print for so long.
Um. Oh God, this is painful. I've read so much that it's really. I don't have a fate. This is my thing. I even with film, I would have the same problem. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I can't. How are you expecting me to do this? Like I'm looking. I have a basically an entire wall of Blu-rays and 4K discs right in front of me, like an entire wall from floor to ceiling. And there's no way I could pick out five. Like I could pick out five I rewatch.
Okay,
Uh,
so let me rephrase the question.
yeah.
What is one comic that you think everyone should read and one movie everyone should watch?
God. I'm just gonna go with I'm kind of like recency like you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm like everyone should be reading Redcoat.
Yeah.
Junkyard Joe. I don't understand how those books haven't been nominated for Eisners. I'm like what like where is everyone?
I
I am a bit of a guy that likes like I just
yeah.
collect everything. Um oh man. You hit me hard because I would put Spawn on the list, even though it's a bit of a guilty pleasure. Like I haven't stopped picking up Spawn, even though it's
I
the writing is hit or miss.
I've never read a Spawn comic. That's one of my shames. I didn't read. I'm 28, so I wasn't reading comics in the
Oh
90s.
yeah, so you okay?
So I kind of missed that.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna just say Hellboy,
Okay.
Seed of Destruction. I'm gonna say let's just say the first like 25 issues of Spawn. I'm going back to like the 90s. Sam Keith's The Max had a
Okay.
huge impact on me. I wish that was collected. Maybe it is, and I'm just not aware of it. I'm throwing out a lot at you, but there's a few. Watchmen, that. I really like Alan Moore is another one I go to a lot. I
I
like the
love Alan
Vision,
Moore.
but Tom King's Vision was huge for
Amazing.
me. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Tom King is my favorite writer. So getting to I've interviewed him a few times and I've actually he's paid me to do social media work for him before.
that's amazing. That's
Because
fantastic.
me and my I so I I'm like the on-camera person, and my creative life, I call him my creative life partner, Jordan, is the one that does the behind the camera and the photography, and
That's
he's
how he makes it look so
amazing.
good, right?
He makes
Yeah.
it look so good. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna slander him for you a bit because you're a movie collector. He sent me the most unhinged text I've ever gotten. He said, so he has a big comic collection like me, right? And when you collect a lot of things, you can't all have collections all be your biggest collection, right? So you have different
Yes.
sizes. And I gave him a 4K player, and he's been collecting more 4K movies. And he texted me the most horrific thing I've ever gotten. It said, "I'm liberated, I'm free." And it was a picture of all of his 4K movies in a CD booklet. And
I could never.
he got rid of the boxes. And
Oh, never.
and he's like, "I kept the steel books," and I was like, "Dude, you're sick, man." So
Oh, I'm gonna throw one more comic out at you.
throw all of them at me.
Amazing Fantasy through Amazing Spider-Man 100. My dad read that to me as a kid. That has forever stuck with me. There you go.
That's awesome.
So I have
Honestly,
lot.
yeah, I just need you to send me a list of the 90s comics I need to read, because that is like my biggest area of lack of knowledge. Is like I grew up reading New 52, and then I started collecting singles around the Rebirth era. So like I've obviously gone back and I've read all the great, like a lot of the older stuff, but 90s specifically, like when it's all leather pouches and big buff dudes and guns, like I'm just not used to it, you know?
But have you read Hellboy?
Oh yeah, not all of Hellboy, but I've read Seed of Destruction
Okay, that
and
started in the
some of the early
90s.
ones.
That
Yeah.
started in the 90s. Check out Sam Keith's The Max. Check out The Max, at least like the first 10 issues. It's really wacky, really
Yeah.
weird, surrealist. And then read Spawn up to like number 50, I'd say.
Okay, I definitely will. I mean, it's I think part of me with Spawn specifically is like with Hellboy, I only had to buy one book to get almost all
Yeah,
of the main Hellboy, you know. But with an my favorite way to collect books is absolute editions. I have a full set of every absolute. So
amazing.
like how many spawns would I have to get in that like slipcase size, you know? So it's like I'm
Probably
running out of real estate here.
just get one or what, like, yeah, 2 to 3 of the compendiums. They're like the massive ones. I think
Yeah.
you're good. You'd get a good taste. And then I would highly recommend the HBO cartoon series that really
Okay.
boils it down to like its best bits. So
Was there a cartoon of the Max?
there was an MTV show, yeah. And I
Was that
have a
any good?
DVD of it that I bought off Amazon years and years and years ago. It's trippy. It's fantastic. It's super weird, very different. Not really a superhero book at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm
Uh,
sure I'm gonna get off and I'm gonna be like, oh, why didn't I talk about this or why didn't I talk about that?
I mean, there's too many great ones to name.
Did you
I
read
think
did you read Geoff Johns' run on The Flash with Scott Collins? It was like
uh,
issues
there's
like
there's 3
one
Omnis. I think I've read the first one. I
okay,
know I've read the first one.
right up to Zoom, which is like 197, 198, 199, and 200, like that era. Oh my god, so good.
That's awesome. I would say 2 for me that are like the most important to me for
Yeah.
comics would be New Frontier and
Oh
then
yeah.
Mr. Miracle. So those
New
are,
Frontier is high up there. See,
yeah.
already I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't think of.
But I mean,
I forget that one.
everyone puts New Frontier would
Yeah.
be on everyone's list. At least yours was unique, you know.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
also put Watchmen, but that's just because it's so easily reread. I don't know why. It's one of those ones I've read countless times.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like with Watchmen, like each time and with New Frontier too, each time you read it, I pull something else out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was one of the first comics I read because the Watchmen movie was like looked like I remember when I first saw the trailer, I didn't know what Watchmen was because I didn't read comics at the time, and it was the coolest trailer I had ever seen for a movie.
Yeah.
And I bought the book, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but like I've stuck with it throughout my life, and I love it more each time. You know.
That's awesome.
But no, that's rad. So like my next panel, I think one of the best horror panels in your book. I want to know what your influences were for this one. Is this one? This is just
Ooh.
such. This was like I feel like I want this as a poster.
Yeah, I don't even know. But you know what? That is a great. I don't know where that came from. I think how Ishmael laid it out, how he made it like he made it cinematic, right? It's like
Yeah,
we're kind of
you
like
can feel it.
zooming
Yeah,
in. That may have been him. it's very possible I just wrote like you flip the page and it's just the hand reaching out and he did the rest. I don't remember. But again, it's just my love of zombie movies too, where, you know, Return of the Living Dead, you know, zombies coming out of the grave. Yeah, I don't know. This page is for sale, Jake. He is selling a lot of these pages, and he's actually started sending some to me that I bring to cons with me. So if you're ever looking for a page,
Yeah.
they're you know, they're a good price, especially now before it takes
Yeah.
off.
That's, I mean, maybe you got to send me a link, man. I might be
Yeah.
down.
Okay.
That is so I set rules for my collecting. If you're a big collector in a lot of things, I bet you have rules for your
Yes.
collections.
Yeah.
And my rules, I always break them. So like I remember one time I had a rule where I was like, I'm never gonna buy an artist edition. And then they did Batman Year One and Born Again. So then my rule became I'll only buy an artist edition with with the words and the letters, you know. And then I bought like every artist edition since then. But my rule is I can't. So I was like, oh, I can't afford original art, you know. But I'll get artist editions. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'll get signatures at conventions, and maybe I can get a little remark, and maybe I can get a little sketch, and it just keeps moving more and more. But like for me, one of my favorite things is like if a book is precious to me, like I've taken like I'll check a suitcase with 50 pounds of books to like North Carolina for Heroes Con or New York Comic Con. I'm from California. And I'll get a rolling car and I'll lug absolutes and omnis around conventions and getting little sketches and remarks. And that to me is like, because I'm not one of those guys that's like, I'm gonna buy a book and then sell it when it's out of print. I love these books, you know. So my
Yeah.
favorite is Mitch gave me Mitch Gerads gave me a gorgeous Mr. Miracle sketch in my
Oh,
absolute for Mr. Miracle. And like he busted out the Copex markers. Like I did a lot of social media work when that absolute came out. So he gave me some extra love for
that's
mine. And it's
amazing.
the most treasured thing in my
Yeah,
collection.
that's nice. I though that would it's hard. I'm like you. It's hard to part with anything from my collection. I'm the worst. I could have like duplicates and I'd still be like, "Oh, I don't want to sell it."
I mean I feel like no one has a collection as big as this or you with your movies and never accidentally gotten a duplicate of something, right?
Exactly. I actually just bought 2 copies of Redcoat 14. I thought my shop didn't pull issue 14, so I went to another shop and grabbed it, but it was actually issue 13 that they didn't get for me. So now I have to I'm always buying duplicates.
So our shop for in case you don't know Panel Bound, I should shout them out because I work there and they sponsor me. We're just graphic novels. So usually like it'd probably be like a standard size hardcover and up. We do the compacts, like I joked it's like the Costco rotisserie chicken where it's like we lose money selling them, but we're getting new readers. You know what I
No
mean?
way. So you do it for the love of it.
Yeah. Honestly, and uh my whole philosophy is like I just want to get more people reading comics, you know, and
Yeah.
comics were this is my origin with comics. The first comic I ever bought for myself and read, like when my mom was like, you can buy a comic at the bookstore. I was looking through all of them and I found a cover where Superman was holding a dead Batman on the cover and it was Final Crisis. And I was like, this will be my first comic because it was the coolest cover I'd ever seen. That should not be anyone's first
For
comic. That should not be anyone's 10th comic, you know? So I just want to help the next generation have a little smoother of a time
yeah.
than I did.
And I definitely
Um
think that what you know, by buying those collected editions, you really are getting that. That's what I love about being able to like I did a signing a week ago, I think, where I was, you know, I think it was I've done a few signings now for the hardcover. I did one at Barnes and Noble. I'm actually in Canada, by the way,
yeah.
and so I was in the States for Thanksgiving, and I did a signing at Barnes and Noble, and you know, I'll move single issues at cons and everything, but I didn't know what it'd be like to sell the entire story. And I did when I did the signing, they ordered like 30 copies, and I was like, "How can I possibly sell 30 copies in 3 hours?" And we sold out. I was shocked. But
Crazy. That's
people,
awesome.
they love the art, they love the cover, they love the pitch for the book, and uh, they love being able to get the full story, right? At least for
Yeah.
the first arc, and so that's really cool. So I really do appreciate these collected editions now more than ever, especially for that.
Yeah. So let's touch on the Canadian thing a little bit.
Yeah.
One of my buddies who I do my Brave in the Book Club with, he brought up the point about when we about how they're in the same classroom 2 years later, and you said, and I
Yeah.
think you responded like that's just a Canadian thing. So
Yeah, I realized how, I used my lived experiences, right? Like growing up, I was in the same class for 3 years. And that was, we have this thing here where we have split classes. I don't know if it's big in the States at all, where you'll be in a 5-6 class. So
mm,
when you're in grade 5, you're in the 5-6 class, but then the next year you'll be in grade 6 in the 5-6 class.
yeah,
So a lot of times my kids in particular are in multiple classes. As a kid, I was in one class for 3 years in a row. We were like an experimental class where it was grade 4, 5, 6. Grade 7 and 8, I was in the same class. I don't know. In high school, it's not so much, but you will
yeah.
have like the same homeroom 2 years in a row. So I wonder if it was just a Canadian thing in me and my kids. I also just love that idea of, you know, you as an adoptive kid, like the main
Mm,
character in Armored, he's being adopted by a couple who lost their kid, and the other kids think he's a replacement kid,
yeah,
right? They're replacing his friend. And I just really wanted to hit everything at him. Like, even the desk you're sitting in was his. I just was
yeah.
throwing everything at this character. Let's make this a terrible time for this character. How can he get through this? Um,
I mean,
and
touching on the themes a little bit, I feel like it's not just Miles's parents who have experienced the loss of a child, but
mhm,
the whole town, the classroom, the whole town. It feels like there's a huge theme of like holding on to grief and not let go and move on, and it's true that way for Andy as well. I feel like. I mean, obviously, we don't know much of what's going on with his parents. There's a tease in I think issue 6 where maybe there's more to his parents' story, but like he can't let go of his parents' disappearance, and he's obsessed with that. So
yeah,
I feel like the main theme of Armor, what I picked up from it is learning to let go of the grief that they're holding on to,
yeah.
and
And you nailed it. I watched your dissection of the book, and you just hit the nail on the head so many times. I don't know if it was you or your co-host. One of you, that armored. I don't know which one of you said it. That
yeah,
armor. I always saw that armored as that protective layer that
mhm,
prevents you from opening up or
yeah.
getting over something. Um, and so that's what it metaphorically represented for me. And I loved it when you said that. You just got it completely.
I want to go back to when I told you that my wife says I like pretentious hipster horror. I just like horror when it's a metaphor.
Yeah,
Like
me
and
too.
yeah, and I think my wife just likes she doesn't need subtext in her horror. She's just able to see a ghost and be like, "I like a ghost," you
Yeah,
know?
and see. I'm kind of
And you do both though. You
I'm both. I have both in my brain. I wanted there to be that metaphor, but I also wanted to just be blatantly in your face. Here's a ghost. It's his friend. He's lost his parents. He has to get over it. But also there is the subtext to it as well.
so you had to balance the subtext with the literal ghost side of it. You
Yeah.
also had to balance making it like going heavy themes and that sort of stuff, but still being all ages. So how did you balance that side? When did you was there ever a moment where you had like maybe written something that you had to like tone down because it was too far or something?
There was some swearing in the book I took out because I realized quickly, like, wait a minute, there's going to be kids reading this. What am I
Mm,
doing? So that was toned down. I instinctually knew how far to go with the horror and the gore. Like, I just felt like I know what I could handle in grade 4. I knew what I could handle in grade 3. I knew how far I could take it, but that was me. And I know there were other kids like me. And I know just from raising 2 kids, my daughter can't handle horror, but my daughter's turning 11 in a few weeks, but my son is 7, and he wants to watch every horror movie he can get his hands on, right? But my
yeah.
daughter's like, I don't want to watch anything. And I had to find a way to make it like just scary enough for her too. Like, I didn't want to go too far. And when she was 9, she read Armored and just went through it so quick and was like,
That's
"Where's
awesome.
issue
That's
6?"
awesome. Um, I think what's important is that like I think what I really respected about Armored is that it is all ages, which is super important because we need kids reading comics because they're the next generation,
Yep.
but it was still something that you could enjoy as an adult, you know, and I think
Yeah.
you did a good job with that, you know. So that was a lot of that was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
One of my favorite panels, I think one of the ones that I think you pushed super far was this one. This one
Yeah.
is just this one's just wild.
Yeah, I was just like, he's got black eyes, and he's missing some skin. He's starting to rot, and Ishmael went for it. And then, I gotta mention two people. Chris
Mhm,
Stevens, who's the editor on the book.
mhm.
This book wouldn't exist if it weren't for him. I didn't know how the hell to get a comic made, and once I started working with him, he was like, "I'll help you get it made. I'll help you get an artist. I'll help you get a publisher." He really helped me so much. And on top of that, like his notes on the script and even the notes on the rough layouts to Ishmael have made the book so much better. The other person I want to call out is Farron Delgado, who's the letterer.
Mhm.
To me, his lettering really adds to the art. Like, look what he
Yeah.
does for the dead
The
child here, the zombie
the
child
the
here.
word balloon. So, like, Sir
Yeah,
William has a blue word balloon. I feel like without a doubt, letterers are the most underappreciated people in comics.
yes.
And like you because if a letterer does their job perfectly, you might never notice it, you
And
know?
and Farron has not been given his due. Like, I feel like this guy has done some stuff that is just incredible. My next book, he spent so much time on the lettering. It's another ghost story. I demand you hand it directly to your wife.
Hey, as soon as I can get a review copy, a PDF
Yeah,
copy or
you
something, I'll
got
read
it. You
it.
got it. It is a different genre, though. I will say it's not like Armored. It is a bit more lighthearted. I call it like Frighteners meets Harold and Maude, or
Hmm,
it's like it's kind of romance and horror and comedy
okay.
mixed together. But even with that, Farron is doing the lettering, and he is meticulously um, for the ghosts, giving a look for the lettering I've never seen done before. Like, the
Oh, that's awesome.
lettering is ghosts. It's so cool. Yeah.
So, you said that one is coming out as a original graphic novel, right?
Yep.
Is it
And it'll
what
be, I'm hoping within the next couple months,
Oh, wow.
Clover will be pre-launching it and then
That's
launching it. Yeah.
Will that also be a Kickstarter like Armored was,
It will
or
be a Kickstarter. They kickstart everything. That's
Nice,
just
okay.
Clover's model is Kickstarter, then to direct market. They're a smaller publisher, right? They don't
Yeah,
have the reach that Boom or Dark Horse, or, well, definitely not
yeah.
Image. No one can touch Image as far as their reach. So they don't have that reach. So they need a way to get to the direct consumers faster, right? Like, if they had the ability to just get in every bookstore, maybe they'd forego the Kickstarter market. But I think they're in a place where they kind of have to go to Kickstarter first and then direct market. So, but yeah, I kind of love it. This way, we can tell all the Armored fans, hey, here's a new book that's coming out from me, and hopefully you'll give it a try. It's a bit different.
So, I guess my question then would be, and this is, like, so in the weeds, but, like, do when it's an original graphic novel, do you s there's obviously not, like, single issue covers, but do you s is there s
Mhm.
do you still have, like, other artists come
Yeah.
on for, like, variant extras? How does that work?
Yeah, so that was just it's more just for passion, right? And wanting
Yeah,
to see the characters interpreted a different way. So with this next book, it's called Till Death. The
okay.
the main cover of the graphic novel is by Tula Lotay.
Oh my gosh, wow.
It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to share it. Hopefully, again in a few weeks, I'm hoping. And then I've reached out to a lot of artists I know, like locally in Toronto. I don't know if you know Suspiria Vilches. She does a ton of comic book work, but also Blu-ray artwork.
Mm,
So she did like she's done stuff for Star Trek. She did what did she do recently? Like, she does Vampirella. She's done tons of stuff. Her artwork's amazing. She does a lot of horror stuff. So she does like a pinup for us. Fellhound, who's a Torontonian artist writer. She did Sir. I have a movie poster artist, so the guy that did the movie poster artwork for um, Zombie Town, the movie, the R.L.
Mm.
Stine movie I wrote. He's doing the chapter breaks. Matt Tarian is his name. So Matt Tarian did the chapter breaks in Armored, actually.
Oh, nice.
So he's going to be doing the chapter breaks for this one. Who else do I have? I have an up and coming artist writer named Amelia. Jeff Dixon, who I worked with in animation for years. He's an ex-Disney artist. You know, he worked on Mulan and Aladdin. I had him come back. He did 4 covers for Armored. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I wanted to work with a lot of the same people. But again, because it's not being released as single issues, I don't have the budget that I had for the
Yeah.
comic. So you have to kind of, I had less money, and I called in a lot of favors. It was like,
Yeah.
guys, you willing to do it? You know, Suspiria came way under her page rates. Fell came in way under, all of them. They all basically, kind of did it out of the kindness of their heart.
Can I ask, so was it because you did Armored as single issues and you got it out of your system, and like what was the decision to do this one as a collected, which again, I love collected editions, as you can see behind me. But what was the reason for that one?
Well, I actually wrote this one with my wife. So this is a
Hmm.
story that we've had a long time. And we just, again, kind of like Armored, it was like, well, what do we do with it? This is not something
Yeah.
we can just like film. No Canadian producer is going to make this. Especially since we've done a lot of road trips in our life. Like we love driving across America. And the idea, I think, came to us while driving across the country. And, um, it was a whole story. And so when we were writing it, we wrote it with chapters in mind.
Mhm.
And it was just like, let's just get the story out. We know we want to end on these cliffhangers. And it was get it done first. Then we brought it to Chris. Then as we started to get the art done and we got like 40 pages done, I started pitching it to publishers. And I didn't go to Clover first because they hadn't even released Armored at this point. Like it was early
Mhm.
days, and I was like, "Well, why would I go to the same publisher?" I knew nothing. I still barely know anything, Jake. And I pitched Mad Cave and Magma,
Mm.
and while they both liked it, they both said the same thing: "This is a fantastic graphic novel. It's not single issues."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I know the company that releases fantastic graphic novels and would
And you
kick
had a
ass job.
connection with them already.
Yeah. And so once I had that kind of feedback, and we weren't done the book yet. It wasn't even like we could release it. I talked to Hank about it, and I said, I'd really like it if you guys released my second book too. And Rachel loved the work they were doing as well, my partner. And it was just felt like the natural place for it. It felt like the right home, and it'll sit nicely with Armored on the shelf.
Was when you made the decision that Till Death was a original graphic novel, was that scripting process significantly different than the
No,
scripting process
uh,
of okay.
yeah, the biggest change to the book was where we're planning the chapters.
Hmm.
We thought certain areas of the book would make fit, like both my wife and I sat down and we just examined the book, and we were like, this would make a great end of a single issue.
Mhm.
This is where issue 2 should end. And we really were like, yeah, that's a great cliffhanger. But then now as a graphic novel, that has shifted because we can make it so that the first chapter is 32 pages, right?
Yeah.
The first chapter as a single issue would have been like 26 pages, and it would have been like a crazy cliffhanger. But now it's like it kind of ends. It's a road trip. Like I don't. This is about a character. The book is about a woman who dies in the 60s
Mhm.
in a terrible accident, and she waits around as a ghost in this graveyard for her husband to die. And it's now present day, and someone's being buried next to her, and she thinks it's her husband, but it's not. Another woman is buried next to her, and she's like, what happened to my husband? And she basically has to find a human that can see ghosts to dig up her bones and take her across the country to find him.
Mm.
And so it's a bit of a road trip movie. And so now the chapters act as like kind of that lapse in time
Okay, nice.
to
So
make you
it's not
feel like
just
this is a trip.
driving.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
driving from one side of this is the other issue we found is like we've driven it. When you drive straight from California to Florida, it's only you can do it in 2 days. You can do it in like pretty quickly. So it was like let's make this feel a bit longer, and the chapter breaks I think help with that a lot. Just the passage of time. Again, we just shifted. That was the only thing that shifted. The story stayed the same.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. As soon as there's anything for me to review, even if it's stuff I can't share, I would love to, man, because I want, like I said, I got to share with my wife.
Okay. We'll
So
we'll get you an advanced PDF copy to read if you're up for it, man.
I'd love it, man.
Okay.
Anything that I can do, that's crazy. So I guess what I'll do now is I'll give you the floor, plug whatever you have to plug. And this was genuinely a lot of fun, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on because I have to say, it is, I really want I just want more people to read Armored. I tell everyone on social media, if you haven't read the book and you're like kind of curious, I will send you issue 1. I think if you sign up for Clover Press's newsletter, they will give you issue 1 as a PDF. Like I just want people to try it. It is hard to convince people to read a new indie book. There are so many good DC books right now. Like the Absolute books are killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone reads Marvel, so that's an easy buy. But it's hard to like get people into indie books. There's a lot of good ones. And when I'm competing with Tom King, I'm competing with Geoff Johns now, right? Like I'm competing with these greats, and everyone has a set budget every month. So I just hope people will give it a shot, even if it's just one person from watching this interview. That's what I hope. And if you need the first issue PDF, I will send it to you to give it a shot.
That's awesome. I mean, who doesn't like a free comic, and trust me, I feel like with how good the first issue is, you're going to be sold and buy the rest of the books. And you can buy it at either Clover Press or our sponsor, Panel Bound Comics.
Yeah.
Either one is great. Or if it's at your LCS, that's awesome. But dude, this was genuinely so much fun. Like I said, there's very few comics I've shared with my wife, for her to read, and it's just genuinely, I think really I feel like it feels timeless, which is cool. You know what I mean? And it was just really special, and I can't wait to read what you have next, man. Just remember, you're not just competing with Tom King and Geoff Johns; they're competing with you now.
Good point. Good point. They better watch out.
Right, right. That's awesome, man. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out Armored and the upcoming Till Death. And if you want to come back on again near the Kickstarter to help promote that, we can do that as well. Everyone, keep reading and stay brave.